Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today I will talk about something that's not directly heresy related, but something that's wargaming related. And yes, we returned to my painting desk, where I try out the AK terrain diorama for basing wargaming models. So basically, if you're doing scale modeling, you probably already know this, but I did not. And I just recently started using them a couple of months ago, and I wanted to make a video on them for quite a long time. So, basically, I'm going to do a video using them and kinda trying to review them and compare them to GW products. So, as you can see, these are quite large pods, 250 milliliters, not milligrams, milliliters, of basing acrylics. These are some models I'm working on, or worked on over the last few weeks. You might have seen them on Instagram, but I started using those AK acrylics because I really liked the Games Workshop product, but it was quite expensive. 24 milliliters for €6.60 is quite expensive. So I stumbled on these. What means stumbled? These were recommended to me by a friend who always uses them, and he said, "Oh, well, you have to use them. They're quite good, and they are way cheaper than GW product." And I was like, okay, that sounds interesting. So I bought a couple of these 6, and I've used them in my basing ever since. Not buying a GW basing acrylic again. So now you might think, why is didnt showing off his 2 Mantis Warriors? Well, there's a simple reason for this. One of them has been based using GW Armageddon Dust, and one of them has been based using AK Interactive's Sandy Desert Paint. And I just wanted to show you that even though there's a huge price difference in these two, that there isn't a big difference in quality. So, I will let you guess now which one has been done with which, and then I will talk a little bit about it. Have you guessed it? Yeah, probably. If you follow me, you know that the Mark V Marine on the left is not as old as the Mark VII Marine on the right. So he's the one done with AK modeling acrylics. And to be honest, it's not a big difference, but there's a subtle difference that you maybe or may not can see on my video and the footage. Basically, the one on the right has a little more grainy texture to it, and the one on the left is a little finer in texture. Now that's the big difference, really. While GW pods and modeling or basing acrylics or texture paints, like they call them, are a little more grainy and have, I would say, a little thicker pigments in them to have a more, let's say, thicker acrylic, thicker coverage or more grains. The ones for AK have a little finer. That's basically what I wanted to say before, but yeah. The huge difference here is now that the AK stuff costs you, from PK Pro, a supplier of wargaming stuff, it will cost you €9.50 for the whole 250 milliliter bottle, or can something for the paint. 200 milliliters of 250 milliliters of AK modeling acrylics, or diorama acrylics, how they call them, will cost you €9.50. While, let me get my GW pot. A GW pot with 24 milliliters of texture paint will cost you €6.60. The difference is so enormous that I thought, even though my channel is not about product reviews and paint reviews, and as you can see in the background, I use quite a lot of the GW paints, I wanted to review them because I think they are really awesome and a lot of wargamers don't even know about them. So, anyway, let's see. So, for €6.60, you get this from GW. And for €9.50, you get this from AK. Quite the difference, isn't it? Yeah. I thought so myself. When I bought them in the first place, I thought, oh my god, the AK quality is going to be so much worse. But it really isn't. If you see the bases, there's not much of a difference. The Marine on the right side is a Space Marine hero from the collectibles. And the Marine on the left is just a normal tactical with some Mark V parts. And for me, a person that doesn't put that much effort into his bases, there isn't actually a lot of difference. But I've also have some bases where I've put some more effort and used some different products. For example, my Venerable Siege Dreadnought. He has also used some AK stuff and some ammo by MiG, Tufts, and he also has a dry brushed base and shading and so on. A little more effort put in. So you can see if you put a little effort into it, it looks just as good as a GW base. So this Plague Marine has been done with the wet ground from AK and a little bit of GW snow, because I didn't buy the snow texture from AK. And you can see I put a little more effort into the base and it looks awesome. I quite like it, to be honest. And as I said before, it's so much cheaper. I would recommend every one of you to buy one. Or one, yeah, of course, to buy them. But there's also stuff from Ammo by MiG, which has pretty much the same quality as the AK one and the GW one. But they weren't available at the time when I was buying them, so most of the stuff I bought was from AK. But I've used the Muddy Ground from MiG as well, and it's pretty nice. So, now that I've shown you some models, I will now apply some of the paint to some bases, and we see the finish without the shading, and then we return. So now I try to apply some of these onto the bases. First one I do is trying the Asphalt from AK Interactive. It's a little bit sticky and the paint has like an earthy odor, but it's not that bad. So, I mean, you notice it, but it's not the worst. And while you're seeing, I'm trying to apply these. The paint is a little sticky because it's acrylic pigment, and it's not going so well with me filming it. So I will apply this now, come back, and then I will talk you through the process and so on. But I need to apply this using both my hands. Sorry. I've now returned. I have used the basing paint on every base I displayed, all of the 6 I have. And yeah, they aren't dry yet, so they need to dry, but you can see that these work fine, just like GW stuff. I applied these. Yeah, this is quite bright and it's very reflective. So let me turn down the extra lighting. The dry ground, you don't actually see anything because it's so white, and because of my camera isn't that good. But yeah, with the dry stuff you have problems seeing it because of my camera quality, sadly. But with the other stuff. So now I've applied these using an old brush. This old thick, I think it's a synthetic brush. It was like very cheap. 15 brushes for 17 euros on Amazon or something. And yeah, they broke quite fast, but this old destroyed brush is actually quite nice for applying those paints. So I've applied them now. They need to dry. I would say a couple of hours. And at the moment I'm filming this video, it's quite late. So I will go upstairs now, sleep, come back tomorrow, and show you the finished results. But as you can see, they work just fine, not on dioramas, but on small bases. So quite excited to see how they work tomorrow, or how they turned out tomorrow. And yeah, see you later. So we have let these dry overnight, and let's see the results. This is the asphalt one. Well, you can't feel it, but it feels like asphalt. It's very crazy. Put some white markings on it, and you will have the perfect city base or asphalt base. This is the wet ground, and it actually looks like it's not dry, but it is dry. This is so awesome. So the wet ground actually looks wet, and the dark earth next to it that yesterday evening you look just like it. It's totally different. This is like steel and mud, steel and mud, I would say. And this optic's just so cool. Now here with the dry ground, it looks like an arid ground. Like usually in the Middle East you have these ground types, because not everything is a desert there, but I think you know that. So that's very nice. Also, if you want to shade it, I would just shade it with a light shade. This is the sandy desert one, so there's a difference. This is more sandy. So this is actually quite nice. This is the concrete. And I feel like it feels like concrete. If you ever felt concrete, you know how it feels. It feels like concrete, but I feel like brush application isn't the only thing you have to do to it. Concrete is often very, very flat and doesn't have these irregular surfaces. So you would need a model spatula to make the concrete. But it looks like concrete. Like, you can't deny that. So usually these are for dioramas that are made for scale models like tanks or whatever, but as you see here, they also work quite nice on small bases. Two things I want to say though. If you're making an asphalt base or a concrete base, you should first make the base and then place the model on it. The simple reason is, when you put the model on the base and then you put the basing materials on it, it looks like it's standing in the mud or in the sand or something, like this dude. But it will look very, very, very bad if your dude is standing like in the concrete or in the asphalt. I mean, if he stands in the concrete and you are making a diorama about the 50s New York and someone is swimming by the fishes, I think that's okay. But otherwise than that, I would not place the model on the concrete or on the asphalt basis before you have actually made the base. So, in conclusion, these bases are quite awesome, or these products from AK Interactive are quite awesome. I really love the wet ground because it looks wet. When I touch it, it feels so unreal because it's not actually wet, and it looks like the ground too. So if you ever thought, hey, I need something to base my models, and it needs to be more cost effective than GW acrylics, then watch no further. The AK Interactive Terrain diorama acrylics are awesome, and they are not only for big scale models, but they are also for small bases in the miniature hobby and the wargaming hobby. That's been it with today's video. I hope you all enjoyed the review. Have a good one. Stay healthy, support the channel, join the Discord server, subscribe, and goodbye.